What's up, YouTube fans? Today we're going to do a comparison of the FansToys Grenadier, Forager, and Mercenary with the MMC Malum Malitia, both versions of Masterpiece Insecticons. So these are both older sets of figures. The FansToys are from 2015 and 2016. The MMC are from 2017. So a few years old. The FansToys were just reissued recently, so I did get the reissue copy. Whereas these I got a hold of from G. Tony. Thanks to G. Tony for allowing me to take a look at this. I've been wanting to do this comparison, but just haven't had a hold of these MMC figures. As I always mention with these comparisons, I try to be as objective as possible. Of course, there's going to be subjectivity involved when you're judging figures like this. So if I pick one or the other figure and you prefer the one I didn't pick, then you win. I really try to do these comparisons to help people who haven't purchased decide which direction they want to go so that they can pick the one that they prefer. Let's get started, and we'll start off with accessories. Here are all the accessories you get with these two sets of figures. Now, these actually come individually packaged and purchased, whereas these come together in one box. So with that being said, you can see the FansToys comes with a lot more accessories. I'm going to go through them individually just so you can see. They both come with guns chromed for each figure. Slightly different look, but both chromed weapons. The MMC comes with two extra faces here, which are, both smiling or laughing type of faces. And I guess we'll equate that to the extra gun here. FansToys comes with an extra toy style gun. And here's what you're left with. The FansToys comes with 3 Energon cubes per bug. Also a extra translucent chest piece for each bug. Replacement set of legs for 2 of the bugs. So we're going to give FansToys the win here. I just wanted to show you all the stuff that you get here. So we'll start off with both versions of Bombshell here. And I am going to go through each bot individually through each category except for accessories and costs, which we'll do together. But because we're doing it that way, I'm going to try to go as quickly as I can just so this video isn't too long. So you may hear me going faster than normal. So let's start off with cartoon accuracy. In order to do that, we'll put the G1 cartoon image there so you can take a look. And as far as accuracy goes, it looks like the FansToys hit a little bit closer because they went with the silver for the chest here, and then they went silver here for these little sculpted bits, whereas MMC went purple here and then also black for these little bits. Now that's kind of a choice by MMC because in the insect mode, it goes purple. So the FansToys one, when we get to insect mode, won't be as accurate. But there is a purple version that's out there. So between the two, you could probably pick one that fits your sensibilities. But as far as robot mode goes, I'm going to give accuracy over to FansToys. I just think they nailed the overall look, even the little dots on the knees. That's right down to that. Both head sculpts are pretty close, but I'm going to give overall cartoon accuracy to FansToys. Now that leads us to sculpt. So here's the side profile, and then here's the back. And you can see the FansToys is just really messy. There's a lot of stuff hanging off the back. Not very clean. MMC cleans up pretty nicely, pretty compactly. Not too big of a backpack. Even on the front, everything's kind of smooth surfaces. On the FansToys, you got a lot more breakup here. So I'm going to give sculpt to MMC. I think they just did a better job overall on the sculpt for this character. We'll talk about paint next. So paint is kind of a no-brainer. The MMC figure is pretty much unpainted with the exception of the face, the black dots here, and I believe that's it. On the FansToys, you're pretty much 100% painted. With the exception to some of the black plastic, everything is painted on this figure. So we're going to give paint over to FansToys. Next, we'll talk about the build. The build quality on these are very different. This is almost all plastic, with exception to the feet, which do have, let's see, does this die cast? I believe these feet are just here die cast, but the rest appears to be plastic. It is a thinner plastic, so you do want to be careful transforming these. Some of the, especially like the hands and these little bits here and there, they don't feel so solid. The FansToys one is solid as a rock. Nothing feels it's going to break. It is a lot of die cast. It's hefty. It feels good posing it. Feels good picking it up. So I'm going to give build quality over to FansToys. Next, we'll talk about the articulation on these two figures. So in order to do that, we'll go quickly through articulation. The FansToys head is on a ball joint. Get a little bit up and down, rotates all the way around, but it is a little bit hindered on these side panels here. The gun on the head goes up and down like that. You can rotate the shoulders here all the way around. They go up on this joint here and down. Also up and down here, so you can get all the way up to there. Rotation at the bicep. Double jointed elbow / bicep, so you can get the full bend. Rotation at the wrist. Single pinned hand gets you out to there. Rotation at the waist. Although it is a little bit hindered by this, and you actually want to move that out of the way before you try to articulate it like I did. So you get a waist rotation there. Coming down the legs, you go forward up to there, backwards to there, out to the side, all on friction. Rotation joint at the thigh. Double jointed knee gets you the full bend. Ankle tilt out to there. A toe tilt, and no ankle pivot in the other direction. Coming to MMC, we have the head on a ball joint. You get more movement up and down on the head. It goes up to there, down to there. Same movement on this gun piece here that folds up and down. Rotation at the shoulder. A reverse butterfly joint there for the shoulder. You do get this joint that goes up here. Rotation at the bicep. A single jointed elbow, but it still gets you the full bend due to the sculpt there. No rotation at the wrist, and actually these wrists kind of suck because they go in as you try to manipulate them. I really don't like that design. It should lock into place. That also plays into the build factor, which I forgot to mention, but you can't really lock these in, unfortunately. So, but you do get the single pin hand there. You can also pose this gun here, which isn't actually cartoon accurate. It should be back here, but you can have that or put it away if you don't like it. You do have a rotation at the waist. No ab crunch in either of these guys. Legs are on ratchets, but they only go up to there. They're kind of hindered by its own sculpt, so you get 2 clicks. Pretty limited there. Back to here, you can move this butt flap out of the way, but again, limited by that. And then out to the side, again, limited. It's hitting its own mold, so every direction for that thigh is limited. You get thigh swivel. You get a single jointed knee. Gets you a little past 90 degrees. You get a tilt here at the ankle. These are very annoying feet. It often just gets out of whack and you have to kind of fix it. And the reason is the heel and the toe are separate, so you got to kind of pose them separately. You can get it, but it's just a little bit of an annoyance. But you can get ankle tilt and ankle pivot, both directions. So some nice articulation there. So because I've got a lot better articulation on the legs and a little bit more on the arms, the only thing where MMC kind of does better is these feet here going back and forth. So I'm going to give articulation over to FansToys. Next, we'll talk about the transformation and engineering. So when it comes to transformation, they're both kind of similar. They have bits that I don't enjoy. They have bits that are fine. The MMC does clean up a little bit better. So I think as far as getting things hidden away, it does look cleaner. So I'm going to give engineering to MMC. Transformation is about the same for both, so I'm going to give them a tie on transformation. And here they both are in their alt modes, and you can see very similar look to them. Here's the side view, and I'll talk about this in just a second, but they both look similar. They both have posable legs. The problem is the MMC one's got some really loose parts. So this panel here, it just doesn't want to stay. These legs are kind of loose, so you can pose them and you put them down and it just falls apart. And these are just really annoying to deal with. The FansToys one definitely feel a lot better. They're more solid. The joints are just, the tolerances are better overall. They both obviously store the weapons. In fact, all of the bugs store the weapons. It's just the FansToys one is back here, whereas the MMC is on top. A little more conspicuous. But this being a problem in the alt mode, and even though the look is close, I don't, again, the legs are a problem here on the MMC. So we're going to give the alt mode over to FansToys. All right, next we'll look at these Shrapnel figures. We'll start off again with the cartoon action. There's the G1 image. And for me, the MMC just is a little off center with theirs. So for example, the legs, they've got the sculpted detail here on the thighs, and it's accentuated by the fact that it's made out of chrome instead of just painted silver like the FansToys. And then additionally, these bottom legs are sculpted just a certain way, kind of their own thing. Same for the feet, they're just extra sculpted. I'm not really sure why. So while that looks fine, I just think it looks not like the cartoon. The FansToys looks pretty close to the cartoon, almost in every aspect. The lower legs are probably a little chunkier than they are in the cartoon, but overall I'm going to give cartoon accuracy to FansToys. Next we'll talk about the sculpt. Now both of these do some good things and both of them do some weird things. So FansToys backpack is just an ugly, awful mess. The MMC is definitely more compact, and you can arrange this different ways, but again, it's bright yellow, so it stands out. I'm not sure why they made it yellow. It doesn't make any sense to me. In the cartoon image, it's definitely not yellow. Coming to the front here, the sculpt, while on FansToys they do have some sculpted detail and some painted detail. It's a little bit more muted, whereas on the MMC, there's more obvious things, sticking out here and there. FansToys, for example, put the guns on the bottom or the bottom of his arms here, whereas MMC put them on the side. I'm not really sure why they put them on the side. I guess you can fold them down and make them go to the bottom, but it doesn't fold flat. And the instructions show it like this, so that's a little strange. I would have figured they'd make this so it folds flat like the FansToys want to set up. So just because of those little oddities, I'm going to give FansToys a sculpt. I just think they nailed it compared to the cartoon, and just overall it looks better to me. Next we'll talk about the paint. Again, FansToys, fully painted, MMC, painted on the face and the toes. Next we'll talk about the build. So the build, the FansToys again has tons and tons of die cast. The MMC has die cast in the feet, and that's about it. It doesn't feel like it's going to break except right here. When you bend these, they'll feel very fragile. And actually, I already see some stress marks on the ball joints here. I'm going to have to be very careful transforming this back so I don't break it onto G Tony. But that definitely has me worried. I've never had that worry with this. These are very posable legs. So I'm going to give build quality to FansToys. I've never felt that I had to be, gentle with it. Next, we'll talk about articulation. Let's go through the articulation really quick. FansToys head is on a ball joint, goes up to there, down to there, rotates all the way around. A little bit of side to side. These can rotate up, but unfortunately it pushes the metal piece in front of the face, so you can't really have it. You kind of have to have it. That's about as far as you can go before you block the face. But you can move these just a little bit. The shoulders do rotate, but they are blocked by these pieces here. I kind of wish you could independently articulate this from this. So they rotate up to there. They can go up to there. Rotation at the bicep, double jointed elbow, rotation at the wrist, single pin hands, rotation at the waist, legs on friction joint, go up to there, back to there, out to the side, rotation of the thigh, a little bit loose. You have is it double jointed? No. Single jointed knee gets you 90 degrees. You have an ankle tilt and a toe pivot. No pivot on the heel, but you can pivot the toe down. Going to MMC, you can move these. You can move these independently, which is a huge improvement over this one. I don't know why they just designed it that way, but this is a lot better because now you can pose these separately and not have these block the face because it's on a double hinge. The head is on a ball joint, goes down to there, up to there, rotates all the way around. The shoulder rotates all the way around, and also a little bit of butterfly joint here just due to the transformation because it goes into a ball peg on the inside. Rotation at the bicep, single jointed elbow, but it gets you almost the full bend. Rotation at the wrist, single pinned hand. And you can articulate this, but I think it's meant to go on the side of the arm. Rotation at the waist. You get a leg kick up to there, back to here. It is hindered by this back hip skirt here. I'm not even sure why that's there. Don't need that. Goes out to there. Rotation at the thigh. You have a single jointed knee gets you 90 degrees basically. And then ankle tilt all the way out to there, and a toe tilt and a heel tilt. Unfortunately, this heel tilt right out of package, this is brand new by the way, it's a little bit loose on the heel tilt, so you end up having to push those down to pose it. But with that added articulation on the pincers here, on this piece here, and on the legs, I'm going to give articulation over to MMC. Getting into transformation engineering, they both feel very similar, but the MMC legs are somewhat of a pain, and it's getting this stuff inside, so they end up putting the bug leg inside here, whereas on the FansToys everything ends up on the back, which does make the back look a little bit more messy, which is why, you know, we didn't give them the point for sculpt. But because of this all feels kind of not great, and pegging this in sometimes doesn't work well, and it doesn't feel so great. So while it looks good when it's done, I don't love this transformation here on the legs, and then this is just kind of lazy. So same for FansToys. I like the transformation of the legs, but I don't love the transformation of the back and all these legs. They just kind of get in the way, and I don't love this either. So I'm going to give them a tie on transformation engineering. They both do things I like, and they both do things I don't like. Neither of them is super enjoyable or super hateful. So there they both are in their bug modes. We'll put the G1 cartoon there so you can take a look. And for me personally, it's not really a contest. FansToys definitely looks closer to cartoon. Just the overall shape, the colors, the detail. The yellow legs on the MMC definitely stand out. And while the FansToys legs, the black ones, aren't a match to the cartoon, they do give you these alternate legs. If you really want to match the cartoon, you can get the purple and gray legs on there. But the black just kind of blends in better with the figure overall. The yellow stands out like a sore thumb. And in addition to that, they don't feel good. They're not very posable. They don't really hold a pose. So for all those reasons, I'm going to give FansToys the alt mode. All right, next we're going to talk about the Kickback figures, and we'll start with Toon Accuracy. We'll put the G1 image there. And based on the image, they both did a pretty good job. Neither of them are far off. Neither of them are, have sculpting or anything on it that makes it look kind of off from the cartoon. So I think I'll give them a tie on cartoon accuracy, and they both did a good job on that. Next, we'll talk about the sculpt. They're both, again, they're sculpted very nicely. I do prefer some of the extra sculpting and detail that FansToys did. They got little sculpted detail and then paintwork that accents it. And that does just make it stand out a little bit more than the MMC. MMC is a little bit more plain because they don't have that stuff going on. They do have sculpted detail, but it's just not painted. So the sculpt work, although there is some, it doesn't show up as well. So I'm going to give sculpt over to FansToys just by an edge. Next, we'll talk about the paint. And the paint, once again, is going to be an easy win for FansToys. It's fully painted. The MMC is painted on the head, on the toes here, which are die cast. And then I believe that's it. So that's an easy win for FansToys. Next, we'll talk about the build. Build is good on both figures. They both feel solid. I didn't feel any parts that felt like they were going to break. These hands are a little bit small on the MMC, but they didn't feel like they're going to break. And these ones actually lock in a little bit better, although they sometimes go in. They lock in a little bit better than the Bombshell figure. The backpack here, transforming that, doesn't feel great on the MMC. But then again, the wings here are the most delicate part of the entire set here for FansToys. And it's so delicate they had to put a warning in the instructions. And they didn't fix it on the reissue. So because they've got the wing issue and because this backpack feels kind of flimsy, I'm going to call it a tie and build. They're both fine. Nothing feels like it's going to fall apart. So we'll give them a tie for build. Next, we'll talk about the articulation. So in order to do that, we're going to have to articulate them individually. So the FansToys, the head is relatively limited. You can rotate it all the way around, but as soon as you lift it up, it comes off the mask. So you kind of really can't do that. You can sort of fake it, but you don't really get much up and down. The ears do rotate. The wings do rotate. The wings splay out like this and inwards a little bit. So you can kind of put those wherever you like. I like it just a little bit out. The arms rotate all the way around on this joint up to here. Rotation at the bicep. Double jointed elbow gets you full bend. Rotation at the wrist. Single pinned hand. opens up like their mini bots. Rotation at the waist. Leg goes up to there, back to there, and out to the side, all in friction. Rotation at the thigh. A double jointed leg to get you the full bend. You have a toe tilt and a toe pivot the other way, so you can kind of get it in any position there. Going to MMC, the head is on a ball joint, so you can go down to there, up to there. The ears also move on this one. The wings go all the way around, but they don't go in and out like the FansToys. They're just kind of fixed straight in place. The arms rotate all the way around. They go up to here on this joint. Rotation at the bicep. Double jointed elbow gets you the full bend. No rotation at the wrist. Single pinned hand. And those don't feel great, but that opens the same way as FansToys. Rotation at the waist. Legs go up to there. A little bit hindered here on this. A little bit hindered going back as well. Out to the side on a ratchet joint, which is nice. Rotation at the thigh. Pretty tight. Now I can't tell if this is die cast or not. This piece, maybe this is die cast. I don't know. You do have a single joint here, so it's a little bit more limited just because of the sculpt here. You can't get it past there. But that is a single jointed ratcheted knee. There is a thing here on the outward movement. So that's the first tab, and that's the other one. So you kind of can't get it in a comfortable position. You either have it all the way out here or in here, which doesn't make any sense. So I don't love that. You do have ankle, let's see, very, very limited ankle pivot. Not a lot. It's very tight. And then you get a toe tilt up and forward, kind of similar to that, but this one's definitely more limited. So based on that, I'm going to give FansToys articulation. Next we'll go to the engineering and the transformation. Now, basically both of these transform the exact same way. They both have the arms flipping out from the center, and then the bug legs go inside. Here they partially go inside. Some of it ends up outside. The wings have to rotate in order to fold those pieces out. The legs, bug legs, go inside the back of the robot legs. Very, very similar in terms of almost everything, with exception to the head. So we're going to call it a tie for both engineering and transformation. They just do it the same way. There's not really much difference, and neither of them are really any more difficult or easy than the others. All right, here they both are in their alt modes, and let's put the G1 cartoon there so you can take a look at that. Both of these really do hit the cartoon pretty well. I mean, there's not really one that stands out being different. They both have very similar legs, rear hind legs and front legs. FansToys had a little bit of paint and detail back here that isn't in the cartoon. But generally speaking, the mold and sculpt overall looks very, very similar. They have all the same articulation and movement. So even though we've got this extra painted detail, I'm going to give them a tie on the alt mode here. I think they just both do a good job nailing the alt mode. So the final factor here is the cost. The FansToys set, if you're talking about the reissue, is going to be $450. The MMC set is around $100. Depending on you bought it, it might be $120. Even if you're talking the original, these three were $80 each, which is going to bring them well above the price of the MMC. So MMC is going to win easily on cost. So final thoughts on this comparison. You can see the final score there. FansToys is going to win this one, and I actually kind of expected them to. Setting up this pose right here, I could tell ahead of time that FansToys is going to win. This, just handling them, you can feel the quality, the weight, the articulation. Everything is just slightly better on the FansToys, and just posing them and trying to get them into positions, you could kind of feel where there's limitations on the MMC, or things bumping each other, or parts that don't feel very confident in moving, and you kind of have to be careful because it's very thin plastic. So while I do think FansToys is a better set, and I am going to keep FansToys for my collection, the MMC is not a bad set. It's a really good value for $100 or whatever the current price is. You get 3 nice bots that fit in with a Masterpiece Scale collection, and they look nice. So if you can get these and you're interested in a more budget or value set, MMC is the way to go. If you want the best looking, the best feel, the best quality, I think you're going to go with FansToys. Now, I have already done a comparison with the Bad Cube Value Pack. What we haven't done is the Bad Cube Collector's Edition, which is getting reissued. I'm actually getting a copy of that. So we will do a comparison with the Bad Cube Collector's Edition, namely because it comes with die cast and paint. So that's going to maybe change some of the numbers. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.